Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here with all of you and also with the comrades from Cuba, from Venezuela, from all over the world. I'm in my organization, Potere Al Popolo, Power to the People. We participated in the convoy with eight delegates, and we will continue participating in the next brigades and convoys taking place and in the next weeks and months. There will be the May Day Brigade, then also around August 13, new groups joining the convoy toward Cuba, and we will be part of that convoy again because we are all convinced that, and we experienced it with our young comrades, that such an internationalist experience, it's like a vaccine. It's like a vaccine of international solidarity. And going there for once means also to come back and struggle against our internal enemy better, with more energy, with more capacity of understanding what is going on all over the world. And this is exactly like I would like to, my short speech, I would like to concentrate on how we get back and what it means exactly to be inspired by Cuba. Already the name of our organization, Potere Al Popolo, Power to the People, we are inspired by the various experiences of people's power, of Poder Popular, all over the world and above all in Latin America. Of course, Cuba, but also Venezuela, Chile. People's power is the way we want to reach socialism. It's not just taking over the state power and win elections, but it's above all create people protagonists of their own future, of their own life. And this is something we learned really deeply also during this convoy. To see a population of 9 million people blocked for 67 years, and above all in the last months with this pressure, but still not taking to the streets to protest against the government, but being totally aware where the enemy is, what the enemy is doing. I think in Italy we would never see something like that. This kind of deep understanding of what the blockade means. And Cuba, throughout its own history, I think it was exactly this way of defending the revolution that was rooting deeply this capacity of understanding the where the enemy is and what the enemy is doing. And defending Cuba's revolution was also always directed in helping other people to free themselves, to liberate themselves, being aware that this process of like making export revolutions cannot be just a copy paste exercise, but that every single country has to make his own creative process, his own creative experience to transform the world. And this is something we also take back to Italy. When we get back, we are structured as Potere al Popolo with a network of different people's houses, social centers in which we practice mutual aid activities, in which we practice organizing, in which we practice direct action. And this is exactly the way we are inspired also by Cuba. The experience, for example, of the entire healthcare sector, of the public healthcare sector. I think we try to reproduce them on a, of course, very lower scale, but in our people's houses, in order to bring healthcare to the people, in order to show that there is a possibility to organize differently than the Western capitalist countries are organizing the healthcare as a private good, as a good that you have to pay to receive it. We try to show what it exactly means if you have direct access to healthcare. So this is one very important thing. We try to to paint the socialist revolution of Cuba, not just as a postcard, but in really experiencing what it means in our territories, in our local activities. So this is one important element of the experience of the Cuban Revolution, to bring it back home to our place. The second thing, it's of course internationalism. I mean, we mentioned it, Angola, 1975, but also in recent history, Cuba was always exporting its revolution, its idea of a new way of living together all over the world. So it is a kind of attitude we try to bring also to our militancy. As Che Guevara said, we have to be able to feel injustice committed to everyone, everywhere in the world, as an injustice committed to ourselves. This kind of attitude, we have to bring it to our militancy, to our young people getting politicized through this very particular moments and years we are living in with this counteroffensive of imperialism. But it also means to have concrete solidarity. Internationalism is not just statements. It's not just symbolic actions. It's a very concrete action, and this is what Cuba is also showing to us. And we in Italy, Felix mentioned it, we are totally involved in that. Doctors, not bombs, is exactly what we are experiencing. In our southern part, we have still 400 doctors from Cuba supporting and even saving our healthcare system that is totally broken. A healthcare system that in the last decades in Italy was just like targeted with austerity measures, with doctors just leaving the public healthcare system because it was more and more privatized. And this is exactly the way also imperialism now tries to use these doctors in order to in a way put pressure on Cuba. The U.S. ambassador in Italy traveled to Calabria, the southern part of Italy, to put pressure to the regional governor to say they have to send back the Cuban doctors. So they are trying, in a way, also to destroy the capacity of this creative resistance, how it was mentioned before, the way of resisting against the blockade, but also bring forward, push forward socialism and targeting the internationalist missions of Cuba is also a way to, in a way, attack the Cuban Revolution. So they are trying to isolate the Cuban Revolution. And this is the reason why we have to take inspiration from the Cuban posture. For us, what does it exactly mean? And with this, I will close. I think there are two ways today we have to advance, and we try to do it also as power to the people in Italy. First of all, it's this very concrete way to fight for Cuba. It's to show solidarity concretely by participating with the convoy. We are now launching also money collection in order to buy solar panels, to bring them above all, not only in the capital, La Habana. It's important to be there, but also in more peripheric and marginal territories, like for example in the eastern part. Affected by all these natural disasters, by like the impact of the blockade is even harder in this peripheric territory. So we have to be present there also, and together with the Agency for Cultural and Economic Exchange, ICHEC, the one mentioned before, we are putting forward like this kind of projects to be present also in the eastern part. But then the second one, I think it's even more important for us. It's that we don't stop talking about Cuba. So we didn't stop to talk about Palestine in the last months, and we are continuing to talk about Palestine. We will continue to talk about Cuba. What does it exactly mean? It means to make a great work against the misinformation against Cuba. I think the newspapers, TV, all the media, the mainstream media are just continuing attacking Cuba, also by distributing fake news, for example, that Trump is preparing a military invasion. They are trying to build this unstable situation in order to legitimize after an invasion or like a more brutal attack. And I think we have to be very clear on that. We have to make a work that is attacking this misinformation. But then I think one inspiration we have to take from Cuba, it's that we have to fight against the enemy in our own country. We have to show where the contradictions are of our governments. In Italy, for example, Italy in the last decades voted always in the United Nations for the elimination of the blockade, but they never did something concrete to put pressure on the United States to eliminate the blockade. We have to point these contradictions of the government, and so defend also a way to change our government and to change the power relations in our own countries. So I think this is the way we have to move forward. In Italy, we are trying to do that because Cuba is fundamental for us. It's fundamental because Cuba has a high symbolic and political capital we have to defend. Cuba is showing that there is still a radical change and a radical alternative possible. If we lose Cuba, we will lose even the idea of imagining that another world is possible and necessary. This is the reason why we have to defend Cuba in our own countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maurizio.